Manny Pacquiao announced his retirement officially from boxing.
Recently. It was yesterday.
Yeah.
That's recent, isn't it?
That's pretty recent, I'd say.
No, yesterday he did. Not recently.
So, I think I'm right in saying this. He's the only man to have held a world title in 4 different decades.
Okay, hold on. Let me figure this out. Yeah, I would say that. Yes, I would say that.
Where do you put Manny Pacquiao in the all-time list? Do you think he even gets in there?
Well, I think as an all-time great welterweight, he's definitely a top 10. As its all-time great junior welterweight, he's definitely a top 10. As an all-time great lightweight, he's probably a top 5. As an all-time junior lightweight, he's probably top 3. And as a featherweight, he's probably top 3. And 22 pounds, I would say he's probably number 1. Probably number 2 behind Salvatore Sanchez. I'm sorry, Salvatore Sanchez would be Wilfredo Gomez, who was number 1, 120, number 122. So he's probably top 10 to top 3 in all those weight classes.
I mean, his opponents, they read like a who's who of boxing, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. I said he's got like 8 losses on his record, and you know what? So what? People, how can he be an all-time great with 8? Well, look how he fought. Look at the percentage of fights wins compared to losses.
Well, I mean,
he fought the best in every weight class, but you got to remember why he fought the best. People don't understand this. To pay him the kind of money that he wanted to fight, and that he was bargaining for, you had to fight top fighters. Same with Oscar De La Hoya when he was fighting. Same thing. Yeah. So you have to fight the best to command those kind of persons.
Yeah, I think his record finished at 62-8-1 or 62-8-2, something like
that. You can't argue.
No.
As far as overall, I would say he's somewhere between number 25 and number 35 all-time overall. I would say. And that's pretty high when you think about all the fighters, all these years, and all the different weight classes.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. That's a pretty good stroke. Top 50 is incredible. There's a later, but between 25 and 35, I would say.
How much of a travesty was it that he didn't get to fight Floyd Mayweather till way past his best?
Well, there's 2 ways to look at it. If it would have happened 4 years earlier or 5 years earlier, neither guy would have paid the kind of money that they made.
Right.
But they waited so long that their skills both appreciated, especially Manny's and and Floyd's, and it wasn't as great as it should have been because of that. And supposedly Manny was hurt, but so there's 2 ways to look at it. Artistically, it was disgusting.
Yeah.
Financially, it was better. So there's 2 ways to look at it. Depends on if you're looking at it from a financial aspect or an artistic standpoint.
Floyd beats him no matter when he fights him anyway.
Oh, no. I agree with that. It would have been a better fight quality in the ring as far as action goes. It was earlier in their career.
Yeah.
I think there was a patch in Manny's career where he'd have walked through anything.
Not for me.
I don't know about that, but yeah. There was the rumors of steroids were rampant, but he never got caught.
Yeah, true enough, and that's one of the reasons Floyd said he wouldn't fight him in them early days, isn't it?
Yeah, that's for sure.
While we're talking about Floyd Mayweather,
legend,
another fighter finished his proper boxing career undefeated. How good was Floyd Mayweather?
Okay, he wouldn't have beaten Tommy Hearns as a 47-pounder. He wouldn't have beaten Ray Leonard as a 47-pounder, and he wouldn't have beat Duran the night Duran beat Leonard that night. Okay, so there's part of your answer right there. I don't know if Floyd would have beaten the best of Donald Curry or the best of Marlon Starling either.
Right.
So I don't know. And I don't know.
Special fighter though, Rick.
Remember one thing. Floyd was not a great lightweight. He had trouble with Castillo the first fight. A lot of people thought that Castillo got robbed, and he lost 4 rounds to Victoriano Sosa, my fighter. So I mean, you're not supposed, if you're Floyd Mayweather, you're not supposed to lose 4 rounds to Victoriano Sosa.
The only thing I admire about Mayweather is his ring craft. He always found a way. He always found a way to win, and I quite like the way he adjusted his boxing style from pretty boy to Money Mayweather, i.e., from being a come forward fighter to a more, well, clearly a more defensive fighter. That's my admiration for Mayweather.
On the flip side to that, though, Rick, do you think his legacy was hurt a little bit because he seemed to pick fighters at the right time later on in his career?
I can't. You know what? Listen, boxers walk in the ring, walk into the sport wearing boxing shoes. They leave the business wearing red high heels and wearing a short black skirt. I'll leave it like that.
Yeah. I see where you're coming from.
So let's get back to throwing some names out there, Rick. Shane Mosley.
Which one? You mean the father or the kid?
Well, the senior. Let's not go junior.
Okay. A great fighter on certain nights. Certain nights he wasn't a great fighter. Was shot way too early. And continued on way too long. Was on performance enhancing drugs. That was proved. I didn't vote for him for the Hall of Fame. Let's put it that way to you.
Okay.
Vasily Lomachenko.
Great fighter. Fights everybody and anything like a Pacquiao. Just in the wrong era of boxing. People don't want to fight him, and you don't fight as often these days. And but he's a great fighter, no question about it.
Does he beat Teofimo Lopez in a rematch?
100% he does.
Because
will that happen, Rick?
The rumour is he got injured in that first fight, didn't he, early on?
What was that? I'm sorry?
The rumour is he got injured early on in that first fight.
Well, yeah, but he wins the rematch. He's too smart for Teofimo. He'll make the adjustments that he needs to make. He'll start earlier in the fight, a little bit of everything.
He doesn't want that rematch, though, does he, Rick? Clearly.
No, you mean Teofimo doesn't? No, Teofimo doesn't. You're right about that.
No. Vitaly Klitschko.
Great fighter. Very boring. Fought everybody in his era that he could fight. I was there when he got stopped by Lennox Lewis. Lennox was shot. He was completely on the back nine. Lucky he got through it. Great fighter, but very boring. And if you look at him, his physicality compared to the results in the ring as far as the action goes, he did win a lot of fights. Don't get me wrong, but he was boring as hell. Really, realistically, he could really. He could put a fireman asleep at a fire.
Yeah, and Vladimir wasn't much more entertaining, was there? Vladimir got took out early in his career and then went all defensive to win fights.
Yeah, just those guys were not exciting to watch. Very.
They weren't. You're absolutely right. But once Vladimir had got with the right coach, that was the masterstroke. It was boring, but he stayed world champion for 10 years?
Yeah, but Vladimir and Vitaly they didn't fight really anybody. They didn't have anybody great to fight, so there was nothing to measure them up against. Vitaly had somebody great to fight in Lennox, and he got stopped.
Yeah,
I mean, I was there. I was ringside. I did the sponsor. I did the sparring partners for Lennox, and I did the sponsorship deals, the gaming and sites, the online casino sites did the sponsorship deal for the fight, and I was there ringside, and you know, I think that was the true fatality that night. And after that, it was save, hit and run, and hit and run, and he stunk places out, but he won.
Yeah. I saw on Twitter Rick, that you made a moving tribute to Antonio Curtis. I just wondered if you wanted to go on record, because obviously you mentioned he was a great matchmaker. So I just wondered if you had any stories in tribute to Antonio.
Two funny stories about him. So I was working with him quite a bit back then in '93 to 2006 when he retired, and he was a great guy, had nothing but respect for the guy. And two funny stories. So when I first started doing business with him, this is before cell phones were really popular. This is '93, '94 era. And calls me up one morning, real early in the morning, and it was like 5 o'clock my time, 2 o'clock his time. He was just going to go to bed. He said, "Listen, I got a whole bunch of work for it. Get a pad and pen out." He said, "I don't have to get it out. It's sitting right next to me." So I'm right. And he tells me, gives me all these fighters. He needs to fight this such on this such a day to perform, and this fighter such a fight, ba ba ba, da ba 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 ba. And I says, "Tony, what time you want me to call you back?" "Don't call me. Just get the guys. I'm going to the horse races. I'm going to the races all day today and tomorrow." And he said, "I'm going to horse races all day. Don't bother me with this shit. Just get it done." And he said, we'll get the contracts out tomorrow. But I got somebody from out of town. We're going to go to the horse races. So, you couldn't get a hold of anybody those days. And he said, "You're at the races. They're gone for the day." So I called him back late at night that night. And it was about, I don't know, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock his time, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock my time. I says, "Tony," he says, "before you breathe the next word, did you get them all done?" I says, "Yes, I got them all done." He says, "Good." He says, "Continue." I told him what the fighters were, how much. He said to me, "Okay, I'll get contracts out to you in the morning." There were fax machines, and this was before email. I get the fax, I get the what do you call it? And I get one of the guys changed the figure from 7,500 to 17,500. That was all in the contract, right? So I called up Tony. And I got to the contract back. He said, "Tony, there's a problem with the one contract." He said, "What is it?" He said, "The guy put 17,500 instead of 17,500. He put a 1 in front of the 7. I explained it to him. He says, "Rick, go get me somebody else." I said, "Okay, fine." So anyways, all three of those, I got him somebody else. All three of those guys were all put up great fights. The house fighters won. They all lost, which they were supposed to, but they were all great fights. He calls me up. Remember what year this is? 1993, 94. He says, "Rick, they were sensational fights. The crowd went crazy." He says, "I'm sending you an extra $1,000. I thought I saw God right then and there. Remember what year? It doesn't like this.
Yes, a lot of money.
I was just starting out, an extra $1,000. Remember, not what he owed me, an extra $1,000. I thought I saw God. So I said to Tony, I says, "Tony, I think I just saw God." He says, "Thank you." He says, "People have called me that in the past." That was one. The second one was he wanted to fix me up with his daughter because he thought I was a really nice guy. Now, Antonio was born in Panama. He's Panamanian. He was a really big guy, super tall, big shoulder, not fat, just huge. He looked like like what an offensive, like a defensive end in the NFL would be. Real big, strong guy.
Yeah.
He says, "I want to fix up my daughter. She's coming to the show. I want to introduce you to her." I took one look at her and I says to myself, "Oh my God." He goes, "It's like Tony Jr." I mean, what the hell? I mean, she was like huge like him, not fat, huge like him, just like him, big hands on her. I go, "Oh my God, I could never do this. I feel self-respect for myself." So I said to Tony, he says, "What do you think?" I said, "I sort of already have a girlfriend, Tony." And he goes, "Oh," he said, "What a shame. I thought you were going to be my son-in-law."
Hmm.
That was two cute stories about him. He was a great guy. Never a bad word between him and I. All those years that we did, always when he stopped doing business, he retired. So, and what did he do when he retired? He went to the horse races every day.
Sounds good to me.
Here's one quick sidebar to him. You guys know who Panama Lewis is, right?
No.
Panama Lewis is the guy who patted the gloves, took out the padding, and Lewis wrestled gloves against Billy
Yes.
Collins.
Oh yeah.
I do know, yeah.
Okay. He was Panamanian. Carlos Panama Lewis was his name. Antonio, they grew up together. They were childhood friends, believe it or not. Funny as it may seem, they were childhood friends back in the day.
Wow.
So, sidebar. But he was a great guy, a lot of fun. Zero negativity associated with the guy. Really a classy guy.
Ryan,
Sorry. Then.
Ryan Garcia versus Jojo Diaz.
Sensational fight. A slight edge to Jojo Diaz because he's been in with the tougher competition.
Yeah.
And he got the better amateur pedigree. And I think he knows how to fight better than Ryan Garcia. But if Ryan Garcia whacked him, I wouldn't be surprised. But I give a slight 10% edge to Diaz, Jojo Diaz. 55-45 fight. Great fight. It's truly what boxing's all about. I would be disappointed if it didn't sell out the Staples Center or another arena in that another 18,000, 20,000 seat arena in the LA area. It's that kind of fight, guys.
Great. Another question. Greatest atmosphere, live atmosphere you've sensed at a fight?
You mean that I was physically there?
Correct.
I would have to say Pacquiao, Margarito in Dallas, Texas Stadium, November of 2010. It was incredible. I mean, 55,000 people going wacky. It was a great fight. It was a great atmosphere, I should say. I'm sorry.
What stadiums have you attended in the UK, Rick? Because obviously we're well renowned over here.
I've never been in a fight in the UK. I've never left them. I don't leave America.
Right, okay. Because we're well renowned for the atmosphere in the UK.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
the atmosphere in Cardiff, for one of the Joe Calzaghe fights, was it Jeff Lacey or was it
Might be
which one?
Might be Kessler.
Yeah.
Miguel Kessler. Yeah, well, that was sensational too. Whatever the one in Cardiff, which one was in Cardiff, that was sensational.
He fought a lot at that time. He fought a lot in Cardiff.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, that was sensational. That was a great atmosphere. No, I'm very aware of atmosphere from watching on TV. I don't have to be there to know what crowd is, when people get excited.
What's your views on the difference between boxing fans in the States and boxing fans in the UK?
You guys look at it as an event, and it's part of a lifestyle. Where we look at it as, you're going to go to the fight? Yeah, I think I'm going to go. It's a little different. They're not as intense over here.
Right.
More people are more couch potatoes over here than they are over there. You guys get out and you support your own countrymen. They don't do that over here. We're like in that area. We're like almost like a country divided. So we don't do that over here.
Is that because there's more sports on offer, Rick, and there's a little bit more down the pecking order?
There's more sports. So let's just say on a typical Saturday night in the fall, you got NFL on a Saturday. You got college football. Okay, you got all the time. You got something going on: baseball playoffs, college football, hockey, NASCAR, Indy cars. There's always something going on here. It's a little different where you guys got major sports is like rugby and soccer. What you got rugby you call football, I guess, and you got soccer, and then you got boxing. Where we got so many sports over here. I mean, it's incredible. Golf. Golf is big over there too, but golf over here watching on TV is huge.
Yeah.
Rick, you've always had these other sports, though, haven't you? You've always had American football. You've always had baseball. You've always had basketball.
Right, but it's
But
but now, I'm fire away. I'm sorry.
back in the 70s and 80s, boxing, especially the heavyweights, they were hailed as the kings.
Right, but the problem today is heavyweights are not Americans; they're Brits and they're from the UK. I'm sorry, they're from the UK and they're from the Russia and the Ukraine, and people aren't excited about those heavyweights. They want to watch Americans.
But I mean, as a sport in general, boxing seems to have dropped right down the pecking order compared to what it was 30, 40 years ago.
100%. And part of it, that's because there's so much to watch on TV. There's so many choices.
Right.
It's incredible. I mean, when I was watching the game your fight the other day, Saturday, the big fight with Usyk and Joshua. What really was happening? I was watching at the same time, simultaneously, the Yankee game on TV and the NASCAR race.
Right.
So it's I was switching back and forth on the TV, and I had the cell phone right here, and I'm looking at the race, the baseball game, and boxing simultaneously. So
yeah,
that's the way it is.
What can boxing as a sport do to correct?
The more fights have to be accessible on TV rather than pay per view. More fights have to be better fights with the Pacquiao with the Crawford's fight, the Spence's, and those kind of like Porter and Crawford. It's exciting. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, it's big. I mean, people are excited about the fight because it's two excellent fighters fighting. It doesn't mean Porter's the best. That means, but Porter's an elite fighter, and he fits in with those guys.
You just touched on Errol Spence there. Do you think Errol Spence is ever going to be the same?
I didn't understand what you said.
You just touched on Errol Spence there. Errol Spence Crawford would be an amazing fight, but do you think Errol Spence is ever going to be the same?
No, you cannot be the same. He wasn't the same when he fought Garcia. He just fought the right guy, and he wasn't what he was. His legs weren't 100%, very far from it, and he wasn't as fast as he used to be. And now he's with the eye problem he's going to have. He's becoming a shell of himself.
It's a tragedy, isn't it? Because what a great fighter.
Yes, no question about it.
I should say, sorry, I'll correct that. He was turning into a great fighter.
Yes.
Talk about great fighter, isn't it?
He was headed in the right direction until he started flying through the air in his Ferrari.
No, that's right.
Talking about great fighters, and this one hurts me. Andre Ward, Rick. Great
fighter. He's another guy was what a fighter was supposed to be all about. Great fighter.
Boring to watch?
No, I wasn't. He wasn't boring to watch because he was skillful. He was he was skillful and he was graceful. He wasn't boring to watch. He threw a lot of punches. He wasn't boring at all. I didn't think so.
Correct me if I've misunderstood this and he's perceived differently in the States, but he didn't seem to have such a big profile that you think someone of his skill level should have had.
Well, there's a funny thing. He disappeared in between fights.
Right.
And that's never a good sign. Lennox Lewis did the same thing. Disappeared in between fights, would have been much bigger. I mean, the next time you saw him, it was in a boxing ring.
Yeah.
You didn't do that.
Yeah.
You got to go out there and promote yourself.
Yeah.
They didn't do it.
Andre Ward never bad-mouthed anyone either, did he?
What's that?
Andre Ward never bad-mouthed anyone.
No, he didn't badmouth anybody, but he disappeared in between fights like Lennox Lewis did. You can't disappear between fights.
And Rick, just to bring you onto the business side of boxing for 1 minute, what do you make of the Top Rank deal with Sky Sports in the UK? Do you think they're going to do the numbers in the UK? Because just as you've mentioned, you don't particularly like watching UK cards mid-afternoon.
They may not do the numbers that Eddie's domestic fights did and stuff, but they're okay, and some of Eddie's fights. but they're probably not paying nearly as much because they don't have to pay the production costs or nothing
Yeah.
because the fights are already, they're already pre-packaged, so they don't have to do anything. So I think that financially for Sky will level out. I think will be pretty equal.
See, we've been spoiled as fight fans in the UK because we're not used to getting up at 3 or 4 in the morning these days to watch big fights. But I think the landscape's changed a little bit. Would you agree?
Changed here too. I wake up eating eggs with watching fights from Japan and Thailand, and so and all over the world. So in Australia, Tim Zoo. So it's changed everywhere. It is
Do
what it is.
if we was to time travel in 15 years' time, do you think some of these new territories are going to be big players in boxing? Your Qatar, your Australias, and such like.
Well, Australia's always been big in boxing. They've always had one fighter in every era that stood out. It
Yeah,
was Daniel Green. It was Jeff Fennick. It was Lionel Rose. They always had one guy over a 10-year period that really stood out. So I I think it's going to be bigger worldwide than it is now. Let's put it that way to you.
and there's a lot of discontent. What I'm reading in certain articles in the US boxing fans, that they are having to start getting up at different times and watching fights in different territories. Because a bit like us in the UK, you've kind of been spoiled in the US, haven't you?
We have been, but boxing's becoming more worldwide, more global, and because it's becoming more global, we're going to have better, hopefully better fights. People from all over the world fighting, and especially in the smaller weight classes. Let's hope it happens. And
Yeah.
hopefully we can put the naysayers to sleep, with better fights.
If I was an American fight fan at the minute, I'd be slightly concerned that DAZN are coming out and saying words to the effect of that the American time zone isn't pivotal to their programming. To me, that suggests that they're going to, like you mentioned, look more to the global platform than the US market.
It's already happened. But they're basically pulled out of the United States without saying so, or cut back greatly without saying so. That's all.
Yeah, it's interesting because Eddie Hearn's got on record only a couple of days ago when he had it put on him about Matchroom USA, calling it a success. Well, I'm not sure where I see that success.
There's nothing successful about Matchroom USA.
Zero. I'm going to ask you a straight question now and just give me your opinion. Is it likely that... I'm going to ask it. Andy knows where I'm going with this one. Would you say that Eddie Hearn was, to use a phrase, ganged up on by promoters in America when he came to America? So,
What'd you call it?
Do you think the promoters decided to work together to limit Eddie Hearn's success in America?
Absolutely not. They all hate each other over here.
Right.
It had nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it.
Was it a case that Eddie Hearn come walking into America thinking he could take over?
Let me explain something to you guys. Eddie Hearn's not streetwise. He tried to call up the Charlos and Adrian Broner when Adrian Broner was Adrian Broner and try to sign all these guys up behind Heyman's back, and they were running back to Heyman.
Right.
I mean, you're supposed to sit down with these guys, make them look serious. Hey, you fly yourself into New York, and I'll put you up at the nicest hotel. Okay? And then we sit down, we'll talk. Yeah. I mean, they made a fool out of him. And everybody's laughing. You got that no offense to you guys, but when you're Americans, the UK accent sounds funny, and to you guys, our accent sounds funny. So I get it. Okay? But they were all laughing at Eddie Hearn. He's not streetwise. He dresses too nice. That doesn't work with these guys. Our fighters are street urchins over here, and you can't give them credibility to that.
So he underestimated the American promoters, and clear then.
He underestimated the competition. How much people like boxing over here because they don't as much as they should. He overestimated his own prowess, and he overestimated everything.
Is there a way back for him, Rick?
What's that?
Is there a way back for him?
Yeah, you hire real Americans that are real boxing guys like myself, and who can talk to the fighters, who give him more credibility in America. But with the fighters and on the ground running, and he doesn't have that. He hired a lawyer, Sean Palmer, who's a great guy and a classy guy. Don't get me wrong, but he's a lawyer from the UK. I mean, that doesn't work over here, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rick, how was Prince Nazim Hamed viewed in America?
People liked him. They thought he was fun. But then when he got his ass whipped by Bear, everybody was happy. He was a guy they loved to watch the hate.
Yeah.
And why was it that Amir Khan was so endeared in America as well? Because I'll be honest with you, he wasn't that popular in the UK.
No, he wasn't. He just made good fights for a while. That's all.
Right.
Just made good fights. That's all.
Because fight fans in the UK think that Amir Khan turned the back on the country a little bit by taking the big bucks in America at that stage of his career.
No, he was, like I said, he walked in the gym. He walked into the sport wearing boxing shoes, and he left the business wearing shiny red high heels and a short black skirt. So there you go. It's typical thing.
Yeah.
Going back to Prince Nazim Hamed, he was knocking people out for fun, prancing around the ring, making light work of everybody until he ran into Marco Antonio Barrera, who just basically, no nonsense, took him apart. How good was Barrera?
How good was Barrera?
Yeah.
Barrera's an all-time great.
Yeah.
Barrera's an all-time great 22, 26, and 30-pounder. He was great. That's all there is to it. Great jab, great fundamentals, could punch, great body puncher. He had it all.
So, last question from me, Rick. So, I've got a $1 bill in my hand because I'm not as rich as you. I've got to put it on the next American heavyweight champion. Where would I put this dollar? Yeah.
I don't know about next. That's a strong word, but I would say a future heavyweight champion is Jared Anderson. From the guy who...
We can go with future.
Yeah, he's got a good future. I'm not saying he's the next because he's only an 8-round fighter right now. So I'm not saying he's the next, but he is a future heavyweight champ. I think he is.
I'll keep an eye on that one. And who do you think is going to be the next pay-per-view star from America?
Nobody.
Really?
Nobody.
Wow.
Nobody.
Do you think
and I hope there is none. This way people can watch him for free on TV. I mean, that's the way to go, I think.
Do you know that? Sorry, Andy. You know with the current state of American boxing, Rick, and the eras that you've lived through, you must think to yourself, "What the hell is this era all about?"
Well, yeah, because I lived through the Four Kings, even though that I was a fan at the time, and then I came in the business after they were finished fighting each other. But it's sad compared to the way it used to be. These guys just don't want to fight each other. Crawford's the only one who wants to fight everybody, and Sean Porter. The rest of them are scared of themselves.
And just to get a bit of insight on the business again, we have Roberto Diaz on the channel quite a lot, and Roberto says, when you hear stories about two fighters not wanting to fight each other, it's a load of rubbish. If two fighters genuinely want to fight,
promoters too. It may be their promoters don't want to fight. That's a possibility too. Sometimes that's the case.
Because Roberto says, as a rule, nobody can stop the fight, really, if two fighters want to fight. I just wondered if you thought that rings true.
No, that's not true. The promoter doesn't want to fight, and then you're back to square one. Everybody's got to want to fight. The fighters and the promoters, the managers. It takes a lot of people to say yes. I respect Robert Diaz and his abilities and what he's accomplished. But I don't see it that way. I see it that it's also the promoters have a big say in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it more about the dollar bill than the gold strap nowadays? Then
Absolutely.
And in your opinion, as a purist, is that what's ruining the sport?
It's contributed to it greatly. I'll put it that way to you.
Yeah. I mean, you've been at the sharp end, Rick, haven't you, in some of the deals? I've done a lot of reading. You're the troubleshooter, if we're honest, aren't you? In a lot of the previous deals that you've done.
Yeah. If there's a problem and it can't be solved, everybody calls on me. That's true. So you read that? Okay, yeah, that's true. They can't get it done. They call me and they call me and say, "Hey, Rick, talk to this guy. He won't take 300,000. He wants 500. He wants 400, or he wants a tune-up fight or a comeback fight, or whatever. And I'm the one that calls him up and tries to talk him into it. It's sometimes there's a happy medium too. It just depends on the situation.
Yeah, you must have been in some very pressurized situations, where getting these fighters over the line, especially when I'd imagine sometimes shows depend on you pulling it out of the fire, doesn't it?
Well, I've had fights literally attempt to unravel at the weigh-in when one guy's a pound and a quarter over and the guy's a stiff and he's going to get knocked out, and the other guy's an 8-round fight, and the other one guy's 14-7 with 2 knockouts, been stopped 5 times, and the other guy's 18-0 with winning call, and it's his first fight back, and the guy took the fight. The 14-7 guy took the fight the last minute, and the manager was busting my oranges over a pound and a half. I feel like slapping him on both cheeks and sending her home crying to his mama. Okay, yeah. I mean, come on now, you know what I'm saying? I mean, ridiculous. Or I had one crazy. Now you know what the law is. 47 pounds is 147 pounds or less is 8-ounce glove. Over 47 is 10-ounce gloves. Well, the one fighter weighed 47. It's just a 10-round fight. And one guy weighed 48 because it was 47 plus 1 was the weight. 48 max. So the guy weighed 47. So the commission actually was trying to tell me that they're going to put 8-ounce gloves on the fighter that weighed 147 and 10-ounce gloves. You say you can't do that, you fucking moron. You can't do that. You got to put 10-ounce gloves on both of them if that's the rule.
Nonsense.
Right. Then the 147-pound manager, he trainer, they're screaming because they're getting 10-ounce gloves, and he only weighed 140. Yeah, but you can't put 2 different size gloves on the fighters. It just doesn't happen that way. Yeah. You can't do that. So listen. I have a great saying about boxing, folks, and you'll both understand this. You ready? If it can happen, if it can go wrong, it'll happen in professional boxing.
Yeah.
So do it.
And another question that we had, Rick, and this might be because some of our subscribers want to learn a bit more about who you are and a bit about who you connected to. There's a question here that's come in saying, in terms of boxing, who are you in regular contact with in terms of famous names? So I'm assuming you're still I don't want specifics, obviously. I don't want nothing about business deals, but
I'm in contact with the Frank Warren people. I'm in contact with the Top Rank people. I'm in contact with Don King. Mostly everybody, really. All over the world daily. And I do business with almost everybody. Except a couple of them I don't do. I don't do much business with Hearn. I don't do much business with PBC, thankfully.
And what does a typical Pacific? What does a scenario look like? So Frank Warren might ring you and say, "I've had an opponent drop out. What can you do for me?"
His matchmaker will call me, Steve Furness, and say, "Rick, I got a fallout. You got anybody that doesn't need a UK visa on short notice, or if it's regular, couple months out, just a regular deal. It just depends on what the situation is. I'm there to provide supplemental services to people around the world, sparring partners, opponents, negotiations, signing up fighters to promotional deals for promoters, for managers, just all that kind of stuff. I do everything, anything white collar. You're going to a fight in the United States, and you're from the UK, and you want to get a a local cut man, great local cut man, I make those arrangements. I get you that cut man you so desire. I do everything. I put all the pieces together daily.
And I've read that you are one ruthless mother when it comes to negotiations, and you give me a wry smile there, Mr. Glaser, which suggests that.
Well, I'm not ruthless at all. I'm not at all. I don't know who said that particular time. I've heard it many times, but I'm really not. All I do is act in the best interest of whoever my client is. That's all I do, whatever it takes.
So you must have a decent sized little black book, as we call it in the UK. So I'm wondering, do you ever sleep? Because you talk about time zones. Well, you must be working around the clock.
Yeah, I go to sleep between 1 o'clock in the morning over here, Eastern time, till 4 o'clock, and then I work the rest of the time.
Wow.
Now Saturday nights, Friday nights, and Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings, I tend to sleep in a little bit. Like I wake up, I'll go to bed like at a reasonable hour in the middle of the night, like 3 o'clock, and then wake up at 10, something like that. So I'll catch like 7 hours of sleep on a Saturday or Saturday morning or Sunday morning.
You must love what you do, Rick. You must love what you do to put them hours in.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something I just told somebody else the other day. I was put on this earth for a particular reason, and I know what my reason is, and I do my reason every day. It's what I do. Simple. It's that simple. I mean, here's a guy that compared boxing and prostitution. Okay, and can do it, and I can argue that point successfully.
Every time you come on, Rick, every time.
Well, it's nice and late in the UK, so we may if you want to elaborate on that analogy, Mr. Glaser, feel free to do so.
It's just that I love what I do. I do it every day. I'm good at it. I love it. I mean, listen, I don't do much business with Robert Diaz. I mean, I don't think I've ever done business with him. I did business with Eric Gomez once a while back, but I'm there. He knows I'm available. If he chooses not to do business with me, that's okay. But just think about this. He's doing business with people that aren't as good as I am, but he's comfortable with those people. So think about that mentality, folks.
Yeah. Well, like I say, he's a good guy, Diaz, isn't he? He's a good guy.
Very nice guy. Absolutely. No question about it.
Rick, you've been in the business for 40 years? Is that
30.
right?
30. Don't be older than I am.
Apologies. In that 30-year period, you've obviously made some brilliant decisions. Have you ever made a decision that you've regretted?
Absolutely. I didn't tell you that I didn't make some bad decisions. I passed in too many deals then. Absolutely, 100%. I made bad decisions, but I based the decisions on the last fights the guy was in, and then it turns out the guy shit the bed. He just didn't do what he did in the prior fights, even though the competition was no different.
Right.
So who knows? Or guys, you just don't know. You just don't. I will say I've never been in a fight where the fighter got robbed. Was on the bad end of a decision. In other words, where he should have won and they gave it to the other guy. I've never been in that position. I'm really lucky, and I've never been in a fight where the referee stopped the fight too fast against my fighter. So I've been relatively lucky.
Yeah. Right, Rick. 1 hour 13. We're going to call it a day. I really appreciate your time again. Great session. If you ever want to tap Frank Warren up and get him on our channel, I'd appreciate it. But no, all joking aside, really appreciate your time, Rick. I'm conscious that, what time is it? 6:15 there, is it?
Yeah, it's time to eat now. And then at 7 o'clock, the Yankee game, 45 minutes, the Yankee kind comes on, but I'm going to eat now and then watch the Yankees. I'll let you guys go. It's been a pleasure. Anytime you guys just ask, I'm as close as the phone. You really didn't hit on Usyk and Joshua much, but I think that Joshua needs to make a lot of adjustments, including a new trainer, a new cut man, and instill the gumption and to go for it and start out real fast and walk across the ring and try to tear his head off and shit in his neck. He's not gonna win a rematch fighting like that.
Rick, we covered that Sunday, fella, didn't we?
I'm sorry?
We covered that on Sunday, didn't we, fella? The Usyk fight.
Oh, that's right, we did. That's right.
So by the way, next question on Twitter, you're not going to get the answer. So that'll be I'll post it tomorrow morning, and you're not going to get the answer.
Hey, Cole, I bet he does.
No, you won't. I've got an absolute pearl of a question. So
listen, just like I said, it's too obscure. Come on. Okay.
No,
guys,
it'll be fair.
I'll let you go. Have a great evening. Okay.
Yeah, Rick, thank you for your time. Take care.
Absolute pleasure, Rick. Thank you.